Hello. Sorry, I can't hear you, Solon. I see Paul Slowe is here.
Can you enable screen sharing?
Is it currently not enabled?
Well, that's what it tells me here. I mean, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Screen sharing. Can you do it now?
Hang on, let me go in it and see what's going on, because Paul needs to be able to.
There we go.
Any media has shown up yet?
There's a lot of people in the waiting room, and I'm not quite sure who's who.
Okay, well, just let hang on. Let me just get the screen sharing. Oh, there it is. Chronology of events. So it seems like screen sharing is working.
Okay, good.
Whose screen is this? Oh, it's Paul Slowe's screen. It's good.
Paul Slowe's.
Where's Paul? I'm not hearing them. Paul, unmute yourself. Can you message Paul and tell him to unmute himself?
Yeah.
Like, why is he still muted?
I can request the.
Well, WhatsApp him.
Right,
as well.
something. Are we okay now?
Yes. Your screen share is your stuff is up. Toby, can you let the people in?
Okay, I'll start letting everybody in now.
Yeah. Probably just mute them so that they don't interrupt the press conference.
Correct.
Okay, Toby, please turn your camera on.
Carry and
Okay, sir, the person on the screen, if please mute yourself. Okay, is Mr. Conway on the line? Is Mr. Conway on the video conference?
So I'm looking for that now.
No, well, let him identify himself. He's able to unmute and say that he's Mr. Conway.
Yeah.
Let me message him.
Here we go.
Is he online?
I see him in the waiting room now. I just admitted.
Okay, please admit him. Okay, now that Mr. Conway is online, just see if you could get him up on the screen. Let's just confirm he's there and then we'll start.
Yes.
Mr. Clinton Conway, please unmute yourself and just say hello so that we can confirm that you're online. Okay, there's Mr. Conway.
Hello.
Okay,
yes, I can hear
very,
you, Mr. Assisi.
very
Yes.
well. All right, that's good. So Toby, can you open the press conference then?
Yes. Gladly. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Toby King. I'm a student at law working for Selwyn Peters. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Selwyn A. Peters, attorney at law and counsel for Mr. Slowe and Mr. Conway. Over to you, Mr. Peters.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Slowe will make an opening statement. Mr. Conway may have some brief comments to make, and then we will take questions from the media present. There may be other people who are online who are not members of the media. We'd ask that members of the media ask questions and other people simply listen and take notes. But we'd ask just that the media ask questions. Thank you. Mr. Slowe, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Good morning to all other listeners, viewers. Happy Memorial Day to the folks in the United States of America. As members of the media, and I suspect others are aware, on Wednesday, the 19th of May, 2021, I, along with other retired and serving members of the Guyana Police Force, were charged with conspiracy to defraud. The charge came about because we, the retired officers, were asked to assist the administration of the Guyana Police Force in revising the force's standing order. This charge is false and politically motivated. I have also seen in the media that there's an allegation that I sexually assaulted a female member of the Guyana Police Force. This allegation is also false. The charge and the allegation are a diabolical plan by politicians and some dishonest, vindictive, and corrupt senior police officers of the Guyana Police Force to remove me and Mr. Conway from the Police Service Commission. The effort to remove us from the Service Commission was accelerated when we were written to by the Prime Minister to show cause why he should not advise the President that we should be removed from the Police Service Commission. We have both responded to the letter from the Prime Minister. Let me reiterate, I am not guilty of the charge or allegation. There was no conspiracy to defraud. As a matter of fact, the only conspiracy in the entire chain of events is the one between some politicians and some dishonest, vindictive, and corrupt senior police officers. I form the view that the charge and allegation are politically motivated for the reasons I will now highlight. Give me a moment. Let me share my screen with you. One moment, please. I'm trying to get to share my screen.
Yes, your screen was up a moment ago.
Yeah, I have checked it out. So let me see, share. Can you see my screen there now?
No, we cannot.
We checked it a while ago and it worked.
Okay, well, Toby, can you pull up the PowerPoint presentation from Mr. Slowe, please?
Yes, I will do so.
That's his amended PowerPoint presentation.
I was not sent the amended presentation. Could you please email it?
Yes, I sent it this morning.
I may not have been on that email.
Let me just quickly check. Maybe I'll do this. Let's see, 10:11 a.m. Okay, I will share my screen then. Sorry for the delay, members of the media.
Well, I think I have it here now. Let me see. Is it up now?
Chronology of
Your
events.
your
I
screen
think
is
mine
up.
is up now.
Click on it. Click on your link. Click on the link. Your email is up, but not the chronology.
Okay.
Click on what says chronology of events.
That's one moment.
All right, hang on. Let me do it. Let's go.
Oh, yes, you have it there?
Yes, let's go.
All right, so you can commence the slide.
Yes, let me make sure. So I'm on the first slide. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right, as sorry about that delay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as you can see, the first slide says, and I am trying to point out why I indicated that this whole fiasco, as I would refer to it, is politically motivated. And in August 2020, directions were given for preferred senior police officers to be placed in key positions. I think this is public knowledge, and I don't think I need to go into it any further. Next slide, please. On September 16, 2020, I had a meeting with the President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. At that meeting, he tried to persuade me that some members of the force who had been moved to those senior positions, including Senior Superintendent Brutus, Senior Superintendent Karimbash, should be promoted. I reminded the president, or I informed him, because I'm not sure he was aware, that there's a process to have persons promoted. The process involved recommendations from the Guyana Police Force, and the commission is the one that will approve those permissions. So even though I am the chairman, I have one vote, and the other members are part of the process. During the course of that meeting, he also mentioned certain other names, mentioned the name of Deputy Commissioner Paul Williams. He mentioned the name of one McPherson. He mentioned the name of Senior Superintendent Philip Azor. And it was clear at that meeting that the president want me to use my influence at the commission to have those persons promoted. I advised the president, apart from the process I mentioned before, that the commission has certain rules. One of those rules is that if a person has a pending disciplinary matter before the commission, the person is not eligible for promotion. I also advised him that persons against whom allegations are made have to allow the process to follow, to go through. That is to say, the allegation should be investigated and a determination made. I remember very well when I told him about the allegation, that is when he mentioned Deputy Commissioner Williams to tell me that Williams had allegations made against him too. And I said, if that is so, then all of these allegations should be investigated. Next slide, please. The very next day, the following day, a meeting was, I got a call from Mr. Mohammed Kwalanda, who I consider to be a friend. And he wanted us to meet, didn't say what the meeting would be about, but he then arranged for us to meet in Middle Street at a cafe. I'm not sure what the name of the cafe is, but those people who are familiar with the area, Middle Street towards Main Street, opposite the bank there, there's a cafe. We met there. During the course of the meeting, Arafat, as he's referred to, told me that the purpose of the meeting was that the Attorney General, Mr. Nandalal, wanted to meet with me, but he was afraid to reach out to me directly because he thinks that I is reaching out to be rebuffed. He then asked me if I would be willing to meet with Mr. Nandalal. I told him that in my capacity as chairman of the Police Service Commission, I will meet with anyone. However, I was firm and I told him that no one will get me to do anything illegal. No one will get me to compromise on ethics. And therefore, that was a prerequisite. That was to be told to whoever want to meet with me. During the course of the meeting as well, he asked me if I would meet with the now Vice President, Mr. Jagdeo. And I repeated that in my capacity as chairman of the Police Service Commission, I will meet with anyone. And I repeat that I'm not going to be made to do anything illegal, compromise of my standards, my ethics. And we went on. I remember well too in that conversation, he told me about the wanting to appoint a commissioner that is loyal to the government. And I told him it should not be about loyalty, it should be about professionalism. Next slide, please. Well, sorry, on that same, go back to the slide, please. And the very next day, I think it was, he called me again, laughing. I mean, he's laughing. And he said, that man, you didn't tell me that you met with the big man yesterday. By that, I understand him to mean the meeting I had the day before with the president. And I told him, I said, I thought you knew of that meeting. And he said, no, he did not know of the meeting. And that conversation ended at that time. There were two other, well, there was one other call from him. He called sometime after to say that he was still trying to arrange the meeting with the Attorney General, but that the Attorney General was busy and in Parliament and other issues. And as soon as the time is available, he's going to get on back to me. He never did get on back to me. The meetings between Mr. Nandalal and Mr. Jagdeo never came off. Next slide, please. Then later, I think it would have been around September, late September, the Police Service Commission received a document from Assistant Commissioner Edgar Thomas, who is the head of the Presidential Guard. That was a document recommending several ranks from the Presidential Guard for acting appointments. Now that procedure was highly irregular because Thomas, as head of the Presidential Guard, is not authorized to write to any outside agency in matters relating to the force. So the commission met, the commission discussed the issue, and I was told that Thomas should be rebuked for writing directly to the Police Service Commission And I did so. I wrote a letter to him. I rebuked him, advising him of the standard operational procedure, the protocol, reminding him that the Presidential Guard is a unit in the Guyana Police Force, and any communication to the Police Service Commission should come through the Commissioner of Police. The very next day, the very same day, no sooner than I arrived at my residence, I got a call on my cell phone. That call was from the president himself, President Irfan Ali himself. And he told me, among other things, that I was a bit harsh on Thomas, and that he, the president, had instructed Thomas to write to the commission. I told the president, sir, I said, even if that were so, Thomas, as a senior police officer, ought to know the correct procedure and ought to have advised you that he, in his capacity as head of the Presidential Guard, cannot write directly to the Police Service Commission. That has to go through the Commissioner of Police. And then he told me, well, you should go easy on Thomas because Thomas was instructed by him to do that. Next slide, please. And then there was the court challenge by Senior Superintendent Fazil Karimbash in relation to 2 disciplinary charges instituted against him. Now, the Police Service Commission received a report from the administration of the Guyana Police Force where 2 female recruits alleged that Senior Superintendent Karimbash had made inappropriate advances towards them. And in keeping with the usual practice of the Police Service Commission, once a report is received, an officer of the appropriate rank was deputed to conduct the investigation. The investigation was conducted, charges were recommended. The report that the investigator submitted to the Police Service Commission was sent to our legal officer, the Commission's legal officer, for guidance and advice. We got guidance. We instructed the investigating rank to proceed with the recommended charge or charges because there were 2, and those charges were instituted. Now, before the inquiry could have commenced, Karimbash moved to the High Court to challenge the process. And I'm sure you were aware that a few weeks ago, that matter was ordered and determined. The matter was thrown out, and Karimbash was ordered to pay cost of $50,000. I have seen in the media, Mr. Karimbash is alleging that this is trumped up charges and all of that. And I want to say this at this stage. If the charges are trumped up, then go to the inquiry and prove your innocence. Why go to the court in an attempt to stop the disciplinary process? Next slide, please. Now, the Police Service Commission convened on the 23rd of December 2020 to consider ranks of promotion. This was after receiving recommendations from the Guyana Police Force. Now we sat, we deliberated, we examined all the files, and then we came up with what we refer to as a short list, meaning we shortlisted persons because in every rank, from inspector right to assistant commissioner, several persons were recommended from the police force. Now we have a duty and a responsibility for due diligence. So we then would have gone through all the files, all the records of those persons, and we did a short list based on the recommendation, based on the fact that some of those persons recommended, including Senior Superintendents Butas and Karimbash, had outstanding disciplinary matters. It has been the practice of the Police Service Commission long before we took over in 2018 that ranks with pending disciplinary matters are not considered for promotion. Indeed, this is a policy accepted by the force because in the same document recommending persons including Butas and Karimbash should be promoted, the hierarchy of the police force identified at least 13 persons who should not be promoted to various ranks because they had pending disciplinary matters. They are the ones who said that. They had pending disciplinary matters, and therefore they should not be considered for promotion. And I want to make this point because it's important. Some of the ranks who they stated had pending disciplinary charges held the rank of sergeant, which means that the authority to deal with those disciplinary matters is the Guyana Police Force, not the Police Service Commission. So here we have a case where they are not dealing with disciplinary matters and stating to us that those persons should not be promoted because of that. But they are saying that others who have pending disciplinary matters before the commission should be promoted. Well, we could not have accepted that, right? That's double standard. We could not have accepted that. And therefore that shortlist was created and those two aforementioned persons were excluded. Next slide, please. Now, remember, get the chronology here. This PowerPoint is entitled Chronology of Event. So the meeting of the commission took place on the 23rd. The very night of the 23rd of December, I was at home about, I think about 7, 8 o'clock the night. And then there was another call, another conversation between myself and President Dr. Irfan Ali, Mohammed Irfan Ali. Now that conversation did not go very well because he sounded very agitated and irate over the fact that Brutus and Karimbash were not on the short list. The first thing that occurred to me, how is it that the president knew who were on the short list? Because that was supposed to be a confidential document. Early stage in the process, we had decided we were going to meet again on the 30th to continue the process. Now, we subsequently learned through an affidavit in the court from Senior Superintendent Brutus that this confidential document was leaked to him. That is what he claims. It was leaked to him, and this is a signed affidavit. Brutus is claiming that the document was leaked to him by a confidential source at the Police Service Commission. So no doubt, once that document was leaked to Brutus, then Brutus or someone else, or perhaps the document was leaked to others as well. But it was clear to me that the president had seen or was in receipt of that document. And he wanted to know why his people, and I quote there, his people, Brutus and Karimbash, were not on the short list. I went through the same thing of explaining to him about the disciplinary process, and he was very, very upset. He said that, look, people have these disciplinary matters pending. How long would they be pending? Why are they not completed so that people can be considered for promotion? And it was a rough conversation, I would describe it as. Raised voice, very angry, and then the conversation was terminated. President terminated the conversation, and that was it. I called the members of the other members of the commission, and I advised them, I informed them of this unpleasant encounter with the president. I had also informed them of the previous encounter or the previous encounters, that is to say the one that took place on the 16th of September and the one where he called me in respect of the Thomas matter. All of these things were brought to the attention of other members of the commission because that's the way the commission works. It's not a one-man show, right? So I called the members and I told them of this conversation I had with the president on the night of December the 23rd. Next slide, please. Now, and here, follow me here, the very next day, Christmas Eve day, very next day, the Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Robeson Ben, wrote to the Commissioner of Police. They say acting, but as Mr. Conway pointed out, there is no acting Commissioner of Police, there is no acting Deputy Commissioners, right? So he wrote to the Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Nigel Hoppy, who is performing the functions of the Commissioner of Police, with an instruction that some named officers, proceedings must be initiated to charge, not to investigate, to charge some named officers for varying breaches. Almost all of the breaches related to incidents that were alleged to have occurred during the election period and during the demonstrations on West Coast Barbies following the death of the Henry brothers. For example, I remember well among them, they claiming that the commander of Police Region 5, Senior Superintendent Cooper should be charged for dereliction of duty. And it stated that during the demonstrations on the west coast of Barbies during that period, he did not take enough action to disperse the crowd. They claimed that in that same document, that Senior Superintendent Azor assaulted foreign members of the diplomatic community and others at the splashment buildings during the counting process. And it went on, quite a number of persons are named, and this is on the 24th of December, the day following the sitting of the commission to determine promotion, and the day following, the night before, I had this conversation, this unpleasant conversation with the president. Now it became clear to me and other members of the commission that that document from the Minister of Home Affairs was clearly intended to influence the Police Service Commission not to promote these officers. Now, what is strange also, and look, what I'm saying here, the documents are there to back up. The documents are there, and I urge members of the media not to take my word for it. Do your investigation, and you will see. Now, what is strange as well, that the names that were listed by the Minister of Home Affairs, that list contained 2 officers that the force had recommended for promotion. So they recommended them for promotion in around October, November 2020. The shortlist had those persons on December 23rd. Here it is now on December 24th. The minister is writing to say investigation going on against it, and the commission wasn't not aware of that. So it was clearly the intention of the minister to put his hands on the scale, to get the influence the Police Service Commission not to investigate. Because remember I told you, I did inform the president that once a post has been investigated for a disciplinary breach, then that post is not considered for promotion. So they took it another level to say they are now investigating these people for criminal breaches and suggesting that they should not be considered for promotion. Next slide, please. Now, and then we have the court action. So there it is, that we are at the 24th. The commission next met on the 30th of December to continue that process of identifying persons to be promoted. We worked on the document, we did our modifications and so on. And then we decided, as is traditional, that we were going to release the promotions on Olia's Day, as we call it, December the 31st. Normally that document is released midnight on that day. But because of the COVID situation, we decided that we were going to release it earlier because we knew then, and again, let me enlighten you, because what would happen, you know, Olia's night at the police officers' mess, big party, big sporting going on, and the document would normally be released at that time. So people look forward to that party, and that increases the celebration for those who have been promoted. Of course, those who have not been promoted, the force is replete with stories of people picking up the drinks and picking up their wife and heading back home because they had expected to be promoted and were not promoted. So it can be a bittersweet night. So we had agreed that we were going to release the document. During the course of the final deliberations, we were advised that Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus had moved to the High Court and that the Chief Justice has issued an order for the status quo to remain. As a matter of fact, we had a long discussion with the legal officers. What does that mean? Do we have to wait for a written order? And we were advised, no, you don't have to wait. The Attorney General Chamber and the parties were there. The oral order was made, and we were obliged to comply with the order. We decided we're not going to flout the order of the court. We are a constitutional law-abiding body, and therefore we will not proceed with the promotion. That matter is before the court, and I'm not going to make, well, let me say this, except to say that and I have it in a later slide, that the matter should have been on the 9th of April, when the matter came up before the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice indicated that on the 24th of May at 10 a.m., she would rule on the matter, because she did indicate that this matter has been going on for too long and she wants to bring it to finality. So on the 24th, well, let me wait. Let me go to the next slide, please. Then, after the filing of the document, or the court order, the fixed date application from Brutus, at the very first appearing, Attorney General Nandalal indicated to the court that he would want to have time to meet with the parties to see if this matter could be resolved outside of the court. We had two meetings. The parties that were in Guyana, the first meeting, the commission, the Attorney General and his officers. I joined, I was traveling, so I joined from Zoom. I joined using Zoom. And we had a long discussion. And we were clear that we were not going to change the rules to accommodate anyone, including Brutus and Karimbash. The Attorney General then decided, well, we kicked it down the road for a while. We agreed for another meeting. At the other meeting, we were joined by Attorney Dexter Todd, who was representing the interests of some officers. Those are the officers who Brutus claimed should not be promoted. We had that meeting, and that did not really go anywhere, because the commission maintained that we were not going to be held to ransom. We were not going to be, people have matters before the court and then trying to reach a compromise to get us to promote them. That was out of order. And we stated that very emphatically, that we were not going to change. As a matter of fact, we said that if you want to discuss, then you should have the order lifted, let us do our work, and then have the matters completed, and you are then eligible for consideration. At the second meeting, the commissioner was there, Mr. Api, person carrying out the functions of the commissioner. And he indicated that he was going to ensure that the matters that were outstanding, those disciplinary matters, will be dealt with expeditiously. As a matter of fact, subsequent to that, the commissioner caused a right to the commissioner to find out what is the position with those matters. As far as I'm aware, many of those matters remain unresolved. Next slide, please. Now, the timing of the arrest, and I'm pointing out to you reasons why I believe that this matter is politically motivated. That is the charge against me, Conway, and others. Why that charge is politically motivated. The timing of the arrest of Mr. Conway. Mr. Conway was arrested on May 19th. Incidentally, I was due to arrive the very day from overseas. So the plan was for both of us to be arrested on the 19th. Remember this matter before, I did not mention that before, but I mention it now. And the timing was, so I was arrested days before the Chief Justice was scheduled to rule on the Brutus case. She was scheduled to rule on the Brutus case at 10 a.m. on the 24th. So the plan is arrest us on the 19th, have us before the court on the 20th to try to damage our image, our reputation. So that was part of this diabolical plan that they have. Arrest us there, and then in my case, give me an additional one, sexual allegation of sexual assault. Next slide, please. Next slide. And this is important. This is all part of this diabolical plan, the dismantling of the police association. You'll want to know what the police association has to do with this. Now, the police association is a body from the police force that tasked with the responsibility. This is a constitutional responsibility of nominating members to be on the Police Service Commission. Now, this current Service Commission life comes to an end, I think it's the 9th or 10th of August this year. Now, once it comes to an end, then the Police Association has the responsibility of nominating new members. The suspicion is they feel that the Police Association will perhaps renominate us or nominate persons who are not, they are not in favor of. So they had, again, this was widely covered in the media. They had this 2 meetings. I think it was on the 11th. One held the morning, one held the afternoon. Now let me tell you something about that. As Mr. Conway said, we have all the information. Senior Superintendent Brutus inappropriately tried to organize this police association meeting by sending messages to the commanders for them to submit nominees. That is not the process. That is not the process. So the nominees were submitted. When the members of the police association got wind that this was taking place, they went to the commissioner and told him that they understand that Senior Superintendent Brutus is organizing an election, meeting an election to elect new office bearers, and that the term of the association runs until March 2022. The commissioner said that he wasn't aware of that and that he was going to intervene to have it stopped. My understanding is that he tried to get it stopped. The people went to the political bosses, and the political bosses instructed that the meeting should be held. Commissioner then instructed the police association, the bona fide police association, to have the meeting and elections. So they arranged to have the meeting on the 11th in the afternoon. I think it was 1 o'clock or sometime 1:30, sometime in the afternoon. Lo and behold, Mr. Brutus went ahead and held his own meeting at 10 o'clock on the morning of the same day. And he got some of his people together and they elected, they claimed to have elected Inspector Prem. The bona fide association went ahead with their meeting the afternoon, and they returned the chairman, female Inspector Ford. Now, when the commissioner learned of the 2 meetings, the commissioner wrote to the police association nullifying both meetings, said that he understands that 2 meetings were held, and he's declaring that both meetings are null and void. And he then ordered that they organized to hold another meeting. The very next day, Mr. Appy wrote again, changing his decision to say that, I think he said that having had legal advice and having gone over it, he's now directing that the first meeting that Brutus held and elected Prem Narayan as the chairman should be the one recognized as the bona fide meetings. We know, Mr. Conway again alluded to it, we as former senior police officers, like the media people, many of whom are here, we have our sources. And our sources have indicated to us that calls were made, directions were given, which led to the withdrawal of the first letter, the cancellation of the first letter, and the new letter recognizing the first meeting. Again, this is all part of this diabolical plot to dismantle the Police Service Commission. So plan B, if we can dismantle them, let's make sure that at least for the next commission, we have people in the police association who will nominate people who are malleable, who are favorable to us. Names are being called. We know who are some of the people that they were told to nominate. At this stage, I wouldn't say anything further on that. Next slide, please. And here we go again. Again, I'm showing the diabolical nature of this whole plan. So the other case where I'm charged, along with others, no allegation was ever put to me, none at all. Never made to answer any question in connection with any allegation. Now, as former policemen, senior policemen, we know what the process is. If persons are to be charged jointly, the usual process is that you will charge those who are there. You wait until you get the other persons and then you join them in the charge. But no, it is to make sure that Slowe is charged and that the Police Service Commission is dismantled. They filed these charges on the 19th of May, and those who were there appeared on the 20th. Myself and Marceline Washington, who are out of the jurisdiction, did not appear, and I suspect at some stage when we are available, they're going to take us to court. Next slide, please. And this is another sweet part. Now, here it is. Remember, I said the charge was filed on the 19th. The persons appeared on court on the 20th. The Prime Minister writes to us to show cause. His letter is dated the 19th, the very day that the charge is filed before the court. The very day he said that it was brought to his attention, it was brought to my attention that you have been charged with the offense of conspiracy to defraud. Well, Guyana perhaps has gone to the force war where we are so efficient that the day when the charge is filed, this process is so efficient that the Prime Minister can know that is to write us for us to show cause. As I've indicated, we have responded to the Prime Minister's show cause letter. We have made our claims. We have stated our claims through our lawyers, and they will deal with the issue that they deem appropriate. I have made a long statement, and I think it is time now for you, the members of the media, to ask your questions. Please go ahead.
Adam Harris, sir, you said that the Prime Minister wrote a letter to you. The police service, to the PSC, to the police service.
To the Commissioner of Police. To the Commissioner of Police, and it was subsequently sent to the Police Service Commission.
Now, you are an autonomous body, like the other commissions. On what authority could the Prime Minister write such a letter? Could he write such a letter, for example, to the Public Service Commission? Could he write such a letter to the Judicial Service Commission? I don't understand it. To me, his letter has no value, but you said you responded. Could you explain, sir?
No, well, I did not mention this. Let me clarify it. The letter that was sent on December 24th by the Home Affairs Minister was sent to the Commissioner of Police, directing him to institute charges against these officers. The letter, the document is there. The document, I know people are gonna run around and say these things are not true. The evidence is there. Now, subsequently, the letter was sent, his letter to the commissioner, this document to the commissioner, was forwarded by Senior Superintendent Brutus. And when we examine the document, we recognize that the entire process, Brutus has no authority to write to the Police Service Commission. The only person who can write to the Police Service Commission is the Commissioner of Police, or someone who writes on behalf of the Commissioner of Police. And we discussed the letter, and we were advised, we asked advice of the Secretary to the Police Service Commission, and the Secretary advised us that given the irregular nature of the whole arrangement, the letter should be disregarded. And we duly disregarded the letter because it had no legal or other effect.
But, sorry, you said you responded to the letter to the PM.
No, that's letter. This is the Prime Minister's letter for us to show cause. The Prime Minister wrote us for us to show cause why he should not advise the President to have us removed from the Police Service Commission. So we responded to him this morning. Is that, right? Adam, you're confused?
Yeah, I am, because, I mean, sorry, the Prime Minister has no authority.
Yeah, well, okay. Now, if you check Article 225, I get you now. Article 225 puts in place a motion to remove constitutional officers.
Right.
including the chairman of the Police Service Commission and the members of other commissions, constitutional bodies as well. And in the case of a member of the Service Commission, in this case, Mr. Conway, the persons who have the constitutional authority to trigger that action is the Prime Minister and the chairman of the Police Service Commission.
Good.
And in the case of the Police Service Commission, it is the Prime Minister who triggers that mechanism. So the letter that the Prime Minister would have sent was in keeping with Article 225, I think 225.2 or something like that.
Yes, indeed. So the Prime Minister, Mr. Harris, does have the authority to issue the show cause notice. And I want you to know that Mr. Slowe responded very, very thoroughly to that. And we're going to make it available to the media. He's filed 27 pages of submissions. He's filed an affidavit of over 100 pages, and his total submissions, his total document brief amounts to 557 pages. So Mr. Slowe did not take the show cause notice very lightly. Mr. Slowe put forward a very significant case that deals with the political interference in this case and the collusion between His Excellency the President, the Minister of Home Affairs, Senior Superintendent Karim Bash, Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus, and others. This case here is going to trigger some significant constitutional issues, including whether or not the President of Guyana has misconducted himself under Section 94 of the Constitution, simply because the President had no right to be contacting Mr. Slowe in the manner that he did to improperly influence as independent constitutional service commission.
I see Mr. Chase hand is up.
Go ahead, Mr. Chase. Somebody unmute Mr. Chase if he's not unmuted. Toby, can you unmute him? Travis Chase?
Yes, just a moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you, Travis.
Yeah, I just had a bagel sandwich with turkey on
Oops.
it, and I usually have that.
I cannot hear him.
Yeah, we heard somebody having a bagel sandwich.
Either that or I get veggie.
Mr. Chase, if you can hear us, we cannot hear you.
Can I go ahead with my questions, please?
Yes,
Nazima?
Nazima, go ahead.
I appreciate it. Mr. Williams, when do you plan to release those submissions first?
Mr. U? Mr. U Nazimo?
Peters.
Okay.
We'll release them shortly after this press conference has completed.
So, very quickly, in your account of your conversation with the president, the one that you described as a rough conversation, you said he wanted to know why his people were not being promoted. Was those his words, his people?
His words, his people. I quoted him there. His people. In reference to Brutus and Karimbash.
Okay, and Mr. Peters, again, if I may, in the documents that you are going to be releasing, would you be releasing correspondence issued to Mr. Slowe by Mr. Thomas and Mr. Slowe? Well, the commission's reply to Mr. Thomas.
We will release Mr. Slowe's affidavit, which contains all the documents that he has relevant to his show cause matter. So you'll see the documents that are included.
All right, thank you.
Svetlana Marshall from Village Voice News. Could I go ahead with my question?
Actually, Travis Chase was in front of you, so let's let him go ahead and then you will follow.
And Stavrik News as well.
Okay, very well.
Can you hear me clearly, Seven?
Yes, please go ahead.
Right. So I would like to know, in relation to we heard of the matters against Senior Superintendent.
Thomas is very low. I can barely hear him.
We heard of the matters with Senior Superintendent Karim Bash. I would like to know what are the matters currently before the PSC that Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus is fighting about? And secondly, are you sure wasn't there a previous file where 14 recruits had alleged sexual misconduct on the part of Mr. Karenbach?
Well, that file, that matter, the 14 allegations or so is not before the commission for adjudication at the particular time. So those matters did not go before the commission. What went before the commission is 2 allegations made by 2 recruits in October and November of 2019. And Mr. Slowe has the report from the investigator, Assistant Commissioner McBean, and he has the legal opinion from the legal officer. And we've submitted those 2 documents as well to the Prime Minister so that he has an appreciation of the conflict of interest that Senior Superintendent Karen Bass finds himself in. Not only is he facing disciplinary actions that preclude him from the promotion process, but here he is heading an investigation involving the very commission who are presiding over disciplinary matters and promotions. And here he is having the executive head of state contacting the chairman of the Police Service Commission. So I know that I went way beyond your question, but it just shows you the incestuous relationship that certainly reeks in the context of the matter before the Prime Minister now to adjudicate. So we will be taking this matter all the way. Whether it goes to the Caribbean Court of Justice is to be seen, but we've put forward a very full factual record so that when it moves upward through the system, if the Prime Minister decides to go ahead, the court has enough basis to find that this is improper, incestuous. It reeks of conflict of interest. It reeks of political interference. It's something that cannot be tolerated.
And Mr. Chase, you spoke about the Brutus. Well, the matter that is before the court is that he's challenging the fact that he's not being promoted because of the disciplinary matter that he calls minor, trivial, according to his law, is a trivial disciplinary matter. I have made the point to his lawyer and to the Attorney General during one of the meetings. I am not aware that the Police Discipline Act, Chapter 1701, states what disciplinary matters are trivial and what disciplinary matters are more serious. Disciplinary matters are disciplinary matters. So that matter is to be decided on, as I've said, on the 18th of June by the Chief Justice. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to make too much comment on that. But there are also other matters involving Mr. Brutus carried widely in the media, where when he was the commander of C Division based at Coven John, policemen accused him of virtually stealing their money, monies that were paid into the division for extra duty that the ranks had performed. And the people wrote to the commission. They wrote, I think they copied it to the Auditor General. They copied it to the president, who was then Mr. Granger, for this matter to be looked into. The Police Service Commission forwarded it to because it's a criminal allegation, so the Police Service Commission forwarded that document to the police for an investigation to be done. On today, like today, long after, we have not heard anything from the police force, despite several reminders.
And I think the point has to be made as well that sexual harassment in the workplace is not a trivial matter, especially of female vulnerable recruits by somebody who holds a very, very senior position in the Guyana Police Force. He was the force commander or training officer at the training school at the time. So he had a lot of influence over those recruits, including where they would have been posted and their career trajectory. So sexual harassment under the Prevention of Discrimination legislation and the Police Act are not trivial matters, and that much must be stated.
Oh, let me say this further, Travis, in respect of Mr. Karim Bash. I became aware of several allegations against him, starting from Linden, when he replaced Mr. Brutus, who had a run-in there with the regional chairman. Karimbash was sent as the replacement. Then because of the allegations, he was moved to West Demerara. Similar allegations were made, and the powers that be saw it fit to send him to the police training school. This is a matter was discussed extensively at the Police Service Commission meetings. How can you send a person who is alleged to be molesting female ranks to a place where you have so many vulnerable female ranks? And I made my voice known to the senior officers then that that should not be. He should not be there. He should be someplace else.
Okay.
Swatland Marshall from Village Voice News. Mr. Slowe, you indicated that in September 2020, you met with the president, and during that meeting, he attempted to persuade you that certain senior police officers should be promoted, among them Brutus and Karimbash. Could you say how many officers in total the president had lobbied for?
Well, he lobbied openly for Karimbash. He lobbied openly for Brutus. He mentioned a name, Mark Forson. I wasn't familiar with that person. Later, research showed that he was referring to, I think the person might have been a corporal then, Mark Forson, who was at the Presidential Guard. I think at the time he held the rank of either corporal or sergeant. And they wanted him in the recommendations for the last set of promotion. He was recommended to be promoted to assistant superintendent. And we recognized that he had not passed any of the appropriate qualifying examinations. So we stuck to the policy, and he was not shortlisted. But those two names, as I said, he lobbied for. And let me tell you something about that conversation on the 16th of September as well. I know Adam is here, and I don't know who are familiar with the term buttering up. But I was really buttered up. I was told that he wanted me to return as the chairman of the Police Service Commission. I was told that he was going to form a commission to look into the reform of the force, and he would want me to be a member of that commission. There was a lot of buttering that took place. The conversation started with him telling me how much respect he has for me, and that members of the PVPC also respected me, and that the running that I had in 2003, the Minister of Home Affairs then, Gadraj, and Mr. Jagdio, that they were wrong to me, and that they like that nature. So a lot of buttering up took place before the request was made for Brutus and Karimbash and Mark Forson.
Tanika Press for Stabrook News. If I could follow up that, please. In relation to the conversations you had with President Ali, does your affidavit or any of the submissions which are to be made public include any corroborating evidence? Is there a phone log for the conversation that would have occurred over phone or anything of that nature?
Well, I have given dates and times. As you will see in the affidavit, dates and times were mentioned, and I'm sure any diligent inquiry, any diligent investigation will reveal all of those things, because I kept my records as to when these conversations were done, what the reaction was. And as I indicated as well, immediately after these conversations, I called the other members of the Police Service Commission, and I advised them what had taken place.
So provided the president acknowledges that these conversations occurred, but denies the content that you stated, where do we go from there?
Well, any investigator will find it easy. They will know what steps are to be taken, because as I've said, names were called, times were given, and therefore those persons can be contacted to find out what transpired.
I mean, and let me add, so the Prime Minister has to make a decision. The thing about it is, if the Prime Minister makes a decision to recommend removal, a tribunal will be appointed. So a tribunal will be appointed under the Commission of Inquiry Act. And so we'll have a chance to, if he goes that step, it's going to be very interesting, because you have from the president to the Minister of Home Affairs to the Attorney General, to Calvin Brutus, to Karen Bash, all those people will be subject to cross-examination by myself. And I will look forward to cross-examining those participants. They will have to, they're making the allegation, and Officer Kendall as well. So it will be a long drawn-out process if a tribunal is appointed, because there's so many different participants, and they're making the allegations. They'll have to come forward. They'll have to be cross-examined, and their evidence will have to be taken under oath. So they'll have to make an interesting decision. But I think this case will be quite an interesting case in terms of constitutional and public law, because I don't think we've had evidence of a president being so involved in a constitutional service commission as this president has with Mr. Slowe's matter.
I have a quick question, please, if I can. Permission?
Go ahead, Mark.
I don't know if it was addressed. I was bumped off recently from this Zoom, but earlier you mentioned that you got a phone call from someone whom you identified as Arafat. I'm not sure that I heard in what capacity Mr. Arafat requested to meet with you. And I just should, for FYI purpose, that Mr. Arafat is no stranger to law enforcement officers outside of Guyana. But in what capacity did he request to meet with you, sir?
Well, as I indicated, Arafat and I, Mohammed Kwaland is the correct name. We go a long way back, members of the Rifle Club. I consider Arafat a friend. So when he called to meet with me, it was in that capacity as a friend that I agreed to meet with him. We are on WhatsApp friend group with the Rifle Association, and we correspond, we share jokes. So I know him very well.
So you didn't find that to be strange that he is making a request for you to have a conversation with the Attorney General and these sort of things, and matters that obviously matters that do not concern Mr. Arafat at all. That didn't bother you, that Arafat was making, regardless of the friendship?
Well, the thing is that, first of all, I met with him because of the friendship. That is why I decided to meet with him, because I knew him and I know that we are friends. Now, the request from, or the indication that Mr. Nandalal wanted to meet with me had a background in the conversation. He spoke about his relationship during the election period with the PPP, that he was part of the group there. He spoke about the relationship with him and Mr. Jadio during the election period. He advised that of the relationship with he and the president. So when he came out and he said this thing about Mr. Nandalal wanted to meet with me, to be truthful, I didn't really find it strange, because I know between August the 2nd, when the president was sworn in, and the day when we met, many overtures were made. People were telling me that this body wanted to meet with me, that body wanted to meet with me. And therefore, I did not find it strange. And that is why I told him quite clearly what the preconditions of any meeting would be.
If I can just, one final question, please. I don't know if it was asked, because from what you have revealed earlier, smack of direct political interferences coming from the politician. At any point in time during your conversation with Mr. Irfan Ali, did you say point blank to him that he was interfering with this process and that his phone calls to you were illegal?
No, I didn't say that to him, no.
Okay.
Sorry,
Gordon Mosley, News Source. Mr. Slowe, Gordon Mosley here. I'm just trying to understand. I know your term, or the term of the Police Service Commission, comes to an end, I think, in August. Is that correct?
Yes, it does, yeah.
So why do you think?
It's the 10th of August, I think it is.
So why do you think there are these moves taking place as you said, to get you removed from office roughly a month, 2 months before. And as your attorney pointed out, even if they move in that direction, it'll be a long process that might very well go past the constitutional time for the commission to die. So why do you think there is this rush to get yourself and Mr. Conway removed from the commission?
Well, I think it's linked to the dates of the charges, because I am of the view that the rush has to do with the fact that the Chief Justice is expected to rule on this brutus et al. Matter on the 18th of June. I believe that they anticipate that the ruling is going to be against them, and the commission will then be allowed to do its work. That is to go ahead and make promotions. Now, that is what they're trying to stop. So if myself and Mr. Conway are removed between now and then when the matter is ruled against them, there is no commission to make the report. I believe that is part of this diabolical plan that is now unfolding.
Tell me something, sir, just to get some clarity here. How many deputy police commissioners is the force allowed to have at any one time?
4.
4, and how many were you promoting?
Well, we weren't promoting deputy commissioners. The commission has no authority to promote deputy commissioner. If you check the constitution, I think it's 210. Promotion of the commissioner and deputy commissioners falls within the responsibility of the president. President appoints the commissioner, the president appoints deputy commissioners. The constitution says that before doing so, he has to consult with the chairman of the Police Service Commission, who should first consult with the other members, and he also has to consult meaningfully with the opposition leader. That is what the constitution says. So the commission is tasked with the responsibility of promoting ranks from inspector to assistant commissioner.
So Brutus and Karen Bash they were thinking to have them promoted to assistant commissioners of police.
Correct.
Would that make it sort of easier for them to move up to the other post of deputy commissioner in a year or 2 years or whenever?
Well, that is the rank structure is that if you're going from senior superintendent, then the next rank is assistant commissioner, then the next rank is deputy, and then the final rank is commissioner. So that's the structure of the ranks in the force.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Sir, are there 2 police associations? You told me that the life of the present police association would end next year. Don't remember what month you said, but it would end March next year. And you said Mr. Brutus went ahead and constituted another police association, which the commission is accepting. What's the fate of
which the Caribbean umbrella body refused to accept. So I don't know what's the position with that, to be truthful. I don't know whether there are 2, whether there's 1, if there's 1, which one has the mandate to function. I'm not sure.
Mr. Slowe, Dennis Shabral, Demerara Waves News Talk Radio. Sir, did you at any point in time express to the president in writing or respond to the president in writing about the nature of the conversations or any perspective that you wanted to object to or share?
No, it was never written to by me, no.
About 6 o'clock.
There one Batman.
Mark, please turn off your mic.
Are you voting?
I see Mr. Moses still has his hands up, and to Mr. Chase. Mr. Chase, you want to ask something? Any other questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Lurley Nestor. I'm not someone in the media, but so I'm just asking whether or not this press conference is directly for media personalities or other people who are invited to this call can ask a question or 2.
Well, Mr. Peters did indicate at the beginning that even though persons were allowed to listening and to view the press conference, we would only entertain questions from the media members.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Then perhaps I can take a bite. Mr. Slowe, you talk about politicizing of the police force. Now, you have been a member of the police force for, is it 28 years, 33 years?
37.
37 years. In those 37 years, do you recall any attempt by any political organization to have the force be supportive? As you said, the president talked about my people and having a commissioner loyal to him and all of that. Have you ever been exposed to such a thing?
No, not at all. Not this blatant and open with transfers and promotions and not this blatant. Not this blatant. I mean, the thing is so blatant that I recall some time ago reading that the Minister of Home Affairs indicating that more transfers, that he's going to cause more transfers to be done. That is not in the that is not part of the minister's responsibility. That's an operational matter, and that is falls directly under the commissioner. But so bold and blatant that the minister can make a statement in the media that he was going to direct more postings or transfers, as the case may be.
Mr. Slowe, final question from me, if you can hear me.
Oh, Mr. Slowe, I just wanted to ensure that I got it right. Would all of the correspondence to which you've referred, I'm talking about written correspondence here, of course, will be part of the release of the documents that have been promised to us?
Mr. Peters, the lawyer, indicated that all these documents referred to are part of the submissions. He said 500 and something pages, and all of those things are included.
And to get you on the record here, sir, essentially you're telling the Prime Minister that there is no reason for you to be removed, right?
That's what the lawyer, I'm telling him through my lawyer that there's no reason for me to be removed.
And the same goes for Mr. Conway.
Sure, they represented
Yes,
me and
yes.
they represented me and Mr. Slowe has spoken for me, the lawyer has spoken to me for me. I believe every word that Paul Slowe said.
Mr. Slowe, finally, they said that upon your return to Guyana, that you will be arrested. I'm sure in light of all that you have said here today, it's more than a mouthful, especially with the political interference of the Police Service Commission. You've outlined everything. I'm sure that you're not afraid to return to Guyana and to be arrested with the trumped up charges, my opinion, that is leveled against you.
No, I'm not afraid. I will have to return. I live in Guyana. I work overseas, but I live in Guyana, and when I'll be returning to Guyana shortly to face whatever charges, because I'm confident that we're going to deal with it in the courts and be vindicated.
Mr. Slowe, Kidaki Amsterdam, Camps TV. Yes, you've submitted your response to the Prime Minister's request for you to show reason why you should not be removed. 500 plus pages. Do you have any confidence whatsoever that your pleadings would even be taken into consideration?
Well, as Mr. Peters pointed out, that even if the pleadings are not taken into consideration, Article 225 of the Constitution sets out the process. It's a long process, and I would urge everyone to read it, because it's not a case where they can just say, well, I shouldn't say that, because a lot of unlawful things are done. But there's a lawful and constitutional process that has to be gone through to remove either myself or Mr. Conway from the Police Service Commission. So you cannot legally or lawfully get up tomorrow and write a letter and say go home or stay home. It doesn't operate that way. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I think I will want to thank you, the members of the media, for finding the time to listen to my side of the story. And as I've said in the beginning and throughout, don't take my word for it. I have given the chronology of events. You are free. Names are called, places are mentioned. You are free to do your work. As some people indicated recently, perhaps this is now a controversial term, don't be intellectually lazy. Go and do your research, and you will be able to confirm dates and times what was said. Somebody asked about conversations and denial and all of that. You will be able to establish records. The records are there. The records are there, and it's for you to do your due diligence and to make sure that things can be verified. And I want to, again, thank you all for giving me this time, over an hour of your time, to tell my side of the story. And I thank you. Have a pleasant evening or afternoon all.
Okay, with that,
Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters.
Mr. Peters has stepped away.
Okay, could you ask him, for those of us dealing with television newscasts, when you're finished recording, could you send the file to us via WeTransfer?
Okay, I will send a message to Mr. Peters about sending the file on.
Thanks.
And colleagues, while you're at it, just check, I just heard Mondale Smith is dead.
Oh my.
What?
I understand he wasn't doing well.
Right. I just heard that. Just check, y'all check it out.
And supporters should be able to say something.
Right.
People who support this
Right.
man,
Hello? Huh?
something.
Who died?
Mondale Smith, they say Mondale passed.
From the start, Mondale?
Yeah.
Who? Mondale. Who's Mondale? Okay. Who passed away? Mondale?
All right, folks, I'll be leaving now.
Oh.
Thank you everybody for attending. On behalf of myself and Mr. Peters, I'm going to close down the Zoom now.
Mondale, I think he said.
We are praying for you. You will, integrity will stand.